Stuart Cowley is somebody who I've known for the best part of 30 years. That was back in our day on the IBA Local Advisory Committee, looking after Beacon Radio and making sure that they were sticking by the guidelines.
Correct.
It was good fun as well, wasn't it?
It was good fun.
And it's good to have you here and have a chat.
Yes, we had more hair back in those days.
Quite a lot, yeah, and I was a lot lighter as well, as I recall. But it was a good gig, and that was something which stemmed from your interest in media, because back in the late sort of early 80s, mid to late 80s?
I got involved with hospital radio around about 1980-81.
Yeah.
Just purely as a fluke. What I was trying to do was bring myself out of my shell. I was a bit of a quiet lad.
Yeah.
So I got an eye on joining the police force, and I wanted to do something that was totally out of character. So we were out shopping in Walsall one day, and they were recruiting. There was a waiting list of about 6 presenters, and to jump the queue, I come up with the idea of going out and recording interviews, much the same as you're doing now. And sort of got along famously with it. Involvement with Beacon a little bit, did a one-off programme in 83 and then joined the advisory committee, same as yourself, 87.
There was a big push then, wasn't there? So they sort of wanted to bring some new blood in, didn't they?
Yes, they did, yeah. So, yeah, it was all very interesting times. And then early 90s, because I went into financial services and it takes up a lot of your evening sort of time, the radio interest sort of fell.
But it doesn't stop you listening, it hasn't stopped you enjoying,
no, I do enjoy radio.
And it hasn't stopped you being creative as well, because in addition to you now reliving your youth through to sharing some of your interviews from basically regional stars back in the day, yes. You've also written a book as well.
Yes, I've written a book. That's one of those sort of midlife crisis things that started way back, just as something at the back of my mind. I've always been creative. I was always good at art at school and creative English. And this idea for the book came along around about year 2000, but it wasn't going to be a book then, it was going to be a screenplay. And it came as the result of watching a documentary on what happened down in Devon, known as Exercise Tiger, which was the exercises in Devon just for the run-up to the D-Day landings themselves. And it was an exercise that went tragically wrong for various reasons and resulted in the deaths of 749 young Americans who'd come over here, obviously, to fight for the Allies, and never even got the chance to get as far as the beaches of France because of a friendly fire incident and various other things that went wrong. And
we hear about friendly fire. It's not something new, is it, unfortunately?
It's not something new. No, it's not something new. I think the tragedy with this particular thing was because it had to be hushed up and kept secret, because they didn't want it to impact on the morale of the people that were going to be later, subsequently landing on the beaches of Normandy.
Yeah.
So it's only sort of the 80s, it was all sort of coming to light again.
50 years on.
Yeah, that it's actually happened. So that touched me at the time and prompted me to jot a few things down ready for a screenplay, but I didn't want to bog everyone down with facts and figures as to what happened like documentary style. I wanted to make it a little bit of a humanitarian type thing with fictional characters, a bit like Cameron did with the Titanic. You know, we know the Titanic happened, and then he brought in fictional characters to try and make it a bit more real.
Yeah, to tell a story and make it human as well, because you don't necessarily want to offend the families of those who were there or get anything wrong. So bringing something completely fictional, it does help to actually tell that tale.
It does. And so it was going to be a screenplay originally, and it's all very well coming up with these brilliant ideas. This was the second project that I'd come up with. It's knowing where to go once you've got that, and then, you know, they say you've got to get an agent. They won't take unsolicited scripts, so they end up being put in the attic for years. And then about 18 months ago, I heard a radio interview with a gentleman who'd been in a similar situation where he just couldn't get anywhere with his screenplays and decided to self-publish. And I thought, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
And this brings something to a wider circle. And most importantly, first of all, it brings it to friends and family. Yes. And it's something that they haven't got to hand around a dog-eared manuscript. They actually get something which is either a real book or maybe something on the Kindle. And you can actually share and actually really enjoy sharing a piece of work.
Yeah, that's it entirely. I mean, all you want at the end of the day is to take your work, whatever you do, somewhere, and for somebody to say, yeah, it's brilliant. Because obviously to yourself it's brilliant, but you just want somebody to say that's pretty good, or no, forget it, go and take up fishing. But there's nowhere to go with that. So the only way to do anything with your work really is to self-publish, and then the public themselves will tell you whether it's any good or not. And thankfully, my book, since it's been out sort of last July, it's had nothing but 5-star reviews. So
which is
good news. So it must be doing something right somewhere. But the whole purpose of it is to highlight what happened with Exercise Tiger on the Devon beaches.
Yeah.
Bringing these fictional characters so that everybody can sort of enjoy the story, because it's a bit of a romantic story, a bit historic, a little bit of the supernatural in there as well. So there's something in there for everybody, but hopefully it will highlight the tragedy that happened and it will bring it to the front.
Yeah, a chance to learn from it, and we've seen quite a lot of work around the First World War with the centenary, and obviously the 75th anniversary coming up this year, the changing dates for our bank holiday in May as we mark what was a great celebration, but still one born out of a lot of sadness.
Yes, definitely, it is sad, and sadly the sad thing is that all the people that were impacted by it really, sadly, they're not going to be with us for that much longer. It's all the more reason why in these immediate years we should remember the sacrifice that they made. Really.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we're looking at people who are now the children of those who would have lost their lives in this, and it could be there were families left behind in the US, families in the UK. We all know about GI brides, so there's a lot of things which could have stemmed from that whole period. And as you say, a chance to share that history, but also to mark with respect and honour for what was being done on our behalf.
Yes, most definitely. And I know there's a lot of the families that were connected to it. You go back on some of the sites over in America with this particular tragedy, there's a lot of bitterness really, that it was only in recent years that it's been sort of noted and commemorated. And if anybody goes down on holiday down Devon, especially in the Slapton area, you'll see the memorial tank that's there on the shore. That's one of the tanks that went down on the landing craft. Yeah. That was pulled to the surface in the 80s, which sort of highlighted it all for everybody then, what actually happened. So,
but the thing is now we're as far from the 80s as they were from the war back then, which is a frightening concept in time.
Yeah, but we should never forget, and hopefully this book will go some way to bringing it up to the forefront again for people to reflect on what happened.
So if people want to get hold of the book, where do they go to?
They go to Amazon. It's only available on Amazon, Kindle or paperback, so it is available there.
So how do we search?
So search for my name, Stuart Cowley, Someone in Time, and then you'll see it there.
And pick up a copy, have a read, and say particularly be mindful of the story that's been told, but you use that as a stepping stone to maybe go and find out more and visit the area.
More. Yes. It's there is a lot of information on the internet if you look up Exercise Tiger, but obviously if you don't know that it's there in the first place and you don't know what happened, then obviously you wouldn't be looking. So obviously the book will help people in that respect. And
had you got any links to this? Was it just a story that you heard and wanted to go for?
It's just a story that I heard and it touched me. More so, as I say, the fact that it had been hushed up and they were known. There was a gentleman called Ken Small who was responsible for arranging for that tank to be brought to the surface at Slapton. He wrote a book called The Forgotten Dead, and that really does sum them up, really. They, over the years, they have become known as the Forgotten Dead because it was all just shoved under the carpet, really, at the time.
So many things needed to be. You couldn't let on what was happening because it was all preparation. So we certainly didn't want the Germans knowing about.
You could understand it at the time. You could understand why they did it at the time. They were under huge secrecy not to reveal what had happened. But, years on, they should be remembered.
Well, Stuart, give us the details again on what we're looking for on Amazon.
Yeah, it's the book's called Someone in Time, and I'm Stuart Cowley.
And have you got your website, or is there a Facebook page for all of this too?
There isn't a Facebook page. I'm a gentleman of a certain age where, You'll need to just look it up on Amazon.
Okay, go with Amazon. We like
Amazon. Go
Amazon.
with Amazon. You'll find it there.
Well, Stuart, great to have a catch up after 30 odd years.
Perhaps I'll have another book in another 30
okay,
years.
we'll get together and we'll do an interview then. Who knows what format we'll be on then, but it should be good. Once again, Stuart, thanks for the chat.
Thank you very much.